So in today's session, we're going to talk about managing debt. It is presented by NGT. And one word of advice we would like to share before we begin is debt can be a double-edged sword that builds empires or bring them to their knees.
So first, let's talk about types of debt. Most basic, you have to know what different types of debt are because different types of debt are catered to various borrowing needs and different financial situations, each with its own set of terms and conditions. So before we get started, let's define collateral. So collateral is the asset that the borrower pledges as a security for a loan. So you'll get this when I explain secured debt. Secured debt is backed by a collateral. So, for example, a mortgage or car loans. And you want to take that loan, you have to pledge them, say, your house or like your other car. And if you don't pay, the lender has the right to take away the car that you pledged for that loan. Next is unsecured debt. So, opposite of secured, it's not backed by a collateral, like credit cards, medical bills. It has higher interest rates because it's a high risk for the lenders. And next, we have a revolving debt, which is credit available up to a limit, and then you can use it repeatedly. So, what that means, it's basically say like your credit card. You can borrow it up to a limit until you pay up to that debt, then you can reborrow it again. So that's why it's called revolving. So you borrow it and you can do it repeatedly, but as long as you pay it back up. So next we have installment debt, good debt, and bad debt. Good debt and bad debt is very general terms. Installment debt, however, first is it's a fixed payment over a period. So like your student loan, and you pledge that you will pay it back every month for like $1,000. That's basically what an installment debt is. It's when you have a fixed set of time that you're going to pay it back. Good debt is basically debt that you borrow to invest that will give you a positive growth. And not only you can pay that debt, you can also make some profit. Bad debt, on the other hand, is just money that you borrow for your own consumption instead of investing to make you more money.
Okay, so now let's move on to debt reducing strategies. Starting off with debt consolidation, where you combine multiple debts into one payment. Some benefits include it being easier to manage, which reduces the risk of missing payments and reduces the total amount of interest paid over time. Many of these have fixed terms, which makes it easier to stay on track and pay off your debt. It is more efficient and easier to pay it off. Some considerations include making sure that the terms of your loan are reasonable and don't cause more interest payment, and you need to be aware of any other fees that you need to pay. And next, we have the avalanche method, where you pay off debts with the highest interest rates first, which saves you money on interest and thus pays off the debts faster. However, you should consider that it takes a lot of time and consistency and tracking to prioritize the interest rates over the balances. And we also have the snowball method, where you pay off the smallest debts first. And some benefits include that you might feel motivated and accomplished by being able to pay off the small debts quickly, and with less debts, managing them become easier. However, you should keep in mind that you might need to pay more interest over time, and that this might not be the most cost-effective strategy. Next, we have balance transfer cards, which transfer balances from high interest credit cards to new ones with zero or low introductory interest. And benefits include saving on interest over the introductory period. And because these are simplified payments, they consolidate multiple different debts into one, but specifically for credit cards. But you should keep in mind that you would need to pay off this balance before the interest rate increase, which is after the introductory period. And you need a good credit card score for approval. And there could be balance transfer fees that could apply. That depends on your cards. And next we have HELOCs, which are home equity loans, which uses the equity in your home as collateral to take out a loan. It uses the funds to pay off high interest debts, and benefits include lower interest rates, which could be lower than your personal or credit card loans. It also has certain tax benefits where interest rates may be tax deductible. But you should keep in mind you need to make a monthly payment to the HELOC, and there are variable interest rates that can fluctuate, so make sure to research before applying for these loans. And if you do not pay on time, you risk losing your home. Moving on to the DMP, which is the debt management plan, you work with a credit counseling agency to create a debt management plan, and the agency talks with creditors to reduce fees and interests. You pay the agency monthly, And because of these better terms that they negotiate for you, certain fees may be waived and save you money. Some other benefits that include are that the payments are simplified into one singular payment per month to the agency. However, these can take 3 to 5 years to complete and will be noted on your credit report. Lastly, we have 401k loans, where you borrow money from your retirement account, which is also known as your 401k, and you repay the loan to your account after paying off high interest debts. Some benefits include that you don't need a credit check, which means your credit score would not affect this loan, and interest rates are typically lower. But you should keep in mind if you do happen to quit your job, the loan must be paid within 60 days. Also, borrowing from your retirement savings can impact its growth over time, and there are also tax penalties if you're not able to pay in time. So, moving on to budgeting strategies, we have the first one called the 50/20/30 strategy, where 50% of your net income goes to your needs, such as utilities, transportation, insurance, loan payments, etc. And 20% of it goes to savings, which can include emergency funds, retirement accounts, debt repayments, anything else. And 30% of it goes to wants, which is when you want to eat out, get anything for your hobbies, traveling, entertainment, and anything else. Next, we have a zero-based budget where every dollar is assigned to a specific expense, which in the end you would have a $0 balance. And you would need to be able to predict and know all of your upcoming expenses, and you should include saving into your plan because if you don't spend it all, you can assign the rest into savings. And this method makes sure that you won't make any impulse purchases. Lastly, we have the envelope budget, which you have physical or digital envelopes where you put specific amounts of money with different categories on each envelope. So if you spend all in one envelope, then you can't spend in that budget category until the next month. If you have leftover funds, you can roll over for the next month, put it into savings, or put it into another envelope.
So understanding credit scores and credit reports. So first we will start with the definitions, and we will begin with credit score. A credit score is a numerical representation of your credit worthiness. Lenders will use it to determine the risk of lending you money. A credit report is a detailed credit history report, which includes your borrowing and your repayment behaviors. So these are the components of a credit score. Credit scores typically range from 300 to 850, and the factors including your that influences your credit score includes payment history, which is whether you pay your bills on time, and this is a large chunk that will affect your credit score. It affects roughly 35% of your overall credit score. And the second would be amount owed, which accounts for 30%, and that is the total amount of debt you have, especially to your credit limits. Third, we have length of credit history, which is how long you've had credit accounts, and this accounts for 15% of your overall credit score. Fourth, we have credit mix, which is the variety of credit accounts that you have, such as credit cards, mortgage, or car loans, and this accounts for 10% of your overall credit score. And lastly, we have new credit, which is the number of recently opened accounts and hard inquiries, which also accounts for 10% of your overall credit score. So these are what a credit score or a credit report would include. First, we would have personal information, such as your names, your social security number, etc. And it would also include details about credit accounts, such as the date that you opened it, your payment history, and everything about that. We also have credit inquiries, and there are two types. First, we have the hard inquiries, which occurs when you apply for credit, and this can affect your credit score. Soft inquiries, on the other hand, only occurs when you or a lender checks your credit for a non-lending purpose, which does not affect your score. We also have public records, which contains information about bankruptcies, foreclosures, tax liens, and civil judgments. And lastly, we also have collections, which are debt sent to collection agencies. So this is a list of how to improve your credit score. First, the best advice, that anyone will probably tell you is to pay your bills on time. Now, we understand that it is not always easy, but this is your priority. Always try to pay your bills on time because that helps you build credit the most. Second, we have reduced debt, which is to pay off debt rather than move it around. Third, we have avoid new credit applications because too many hard inquiries can lower your score. Fourth, we have keep old accounts open because keeping older accounts open can show a lengthy and reliable long credit history, which also builds your reliability to lenders. And fifth, we have diversify credit types. So having a mix of credit types such as credit cards, installment loans can positively affect your score because that diversifies your risk. Thank you guys for listening to today's session, and we hope to see you guys next time.